Meta Quest 3S is finally here. First off, of course, for transparency, I want to thank the folks at Meta for sending me a free unit for me to review and cover on the channel. But after months of rumors, speculation, and the various leaks posted online, this headset was the largest unkept secret leading up to launch. Let's be honest, the only question really was the price point, and Meta settled at just $299 with the 128GB version. It's exactly the same price point as Quest 2 when it first launched in 2020. Out the gate, some of the points I'll be covering in this video are the initial unboxing of the headset, mix some of my thoughts in between, accessories, hardware features, the current user experience using Meta Horizon OS, the operating system, gaming, tracking compared to Quest 3, privacy, and ultimately who this headset is for and is it right for you. I'll break down my experience up to now, and I'll try my best to jam pack everything I know and learned so far. Straight out of the box is the headset itself, standard facial interface, and the stock strap, which is enough for casual use and using while laying down, but if you use the headset for say more than an hour a day, you'll eventually look to upgrade, as the stock strap starts to get uncomfortable after a while, and the facial interface, as this does soak up sweat. Switching to a silicone one is better in my opinion for the sake of hygiene, like this breathable facial interface that Meta also included and sent over to me as well. And most importantly, the head strap. It's one of the aspects of why Meta can get the headset to such a low price point, but then they wonder why user retention is low. Whether directly from Meta or third-party options, all Quest 3 head straps should work with Quest 3S, minus the facial interface. It's more of a clip-on rather than an insert like on Quest 3, and honestly I prefer it much more than what Quest 3 has, since it doesn't feel like you'll break the interface every time you swap it out. And currently my choice of head strap while using Quest 3 and personal favorite of mine is from Gobler Cluster. Working on a review, stay tuned. It's a Halo head strap giving you that sweet comfort, plus it comes with swappable customization option. Each head is a bit different. I can't necessarily say there is a universal head strap that works for everyone, whether it's elite style head straps or Halo head straps. With a head strap like Goblet Clusters, it does wonders for comfort, and an included bonus is that it allows you to wear it like a visor without a facial interface. It's a bit odd at first, but I use my headset in this form pretty much all the time now. You're aware of your surroundings but still immersed while playing games and such. Included as well in the box is a power adapter rated for 20 watts and a 1-meter USB-C 2.0 charging and data cable. Don't know the USB-C spec for Quest 3S, and Meta never disclosed it, but Qualcomm's documentation mentions USB Type-C 3.1 Gen 2, 2 Touch Plus controllers with wrist straps, and 2 AA batteries. Ergonomically, the controllers are better than Quest 2 while in your hands, but with the removal of the tracking rings, if the controllers become obfuscated by your hands or out of view, it leads to inconsistencies in the tracking. Inside-out tracking still isn't perfect, neither was it with Quest 2, but it has its trade-offs. The tracking isn't unusable, but if it's out of sight, it'll tend to drift. And the controllers, you no longer have the huge tracking rings that almost never left the view of the headset, in trade for more compact ergonomic controllers. Before Quest 3, the controllers prioritized infrared-based tracking. These Touch Plus controllers use IR LED lights as well, but they prioritize a hybrid computer vision and machine learning as well. Accurate estimations in most experiences, but estimations from time to time are prone to have errors. Meta didn't share tracking information apart from the visual at MetaConnect 2023, but I'll say it's very similar to Quest 3. I'll touch a bit more on that later in the video. Surprisingly, I got more consistent tracking than on my Quest 3. It features the same 4 megapixel RGB cameras on top for color pass-through, and below and on the sides black and white cameras for headset tracking and controller positioning. In addition, Meta also added a flood infrared IR illuminator that glows red while having hand tracking on in settings. Recorded with my phone, it picks up a lot more than what you'll see in person. A new button refers to an action button used to toggle between immersive and pass-through modes rather than the double tapping on the side of the headset like you have on Quest 2 and Quest 3. IPD adjustment only has 3 settings like on Quest 2, 58, 63, and 78. Alright, editing this video, it's not 78, it's 68. Mistake on my part, but resume. 11 millimeters reduced in length, heavier than Quest 2, but 1 gram less than Quest 3. Compared to Quest 3, the battery is smaller on Quest 3S, but delivers 2.5 hours of gaming time more than Quest 3, due to the lower power draw from the lower resolution display and with the removal of the proximity sensor, which is used to wake the headset automatically while putting it on. Pass-through isn't perfect, but if you're upgrading from Quest 2, this is a major upgrade. I don't play much mixed reality games. Most games, if not all, they're fun at first, but then you just kind of get bored of them. But where mixed reality and the color pass-through benefits the most for me is getting a almost 1-for-1 of your actual surroundings. You can pick up drinks, look at keyboards, or look at your laptop and screens without taking off your headset. Comparing this to Quest 2, this offers way more in hardware, with Qualcomm's XR2 Gen 2 chipset inside giving you snappier menus, crisper visuals, and consistent high frame rates in games, along with Batman Arkham Shadow bundled for free with every new purchase of Quest 3 3S until April 30, 2025. I'll link a referral code down below in the description, so before you activate your headset, you can get $30 in Quest Store credit, and it also does support the channel. Let's talk a bit about gaming and fitness. By the way, all games from Quest 1 and 2 are backwards compatible. You don't have to buy a remastered edition to upgrade, and for older games, they get an automatic resolution scale boost. Enhanced games include Asgard's Wrath 2 that offers nearly 100 hours of gameplay, and optimized games with graphical options like Medieval Dynasty VR, or one of my favorite games of all time, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, with twice as many zombies compared to Quest 2 and dynamic shadows added to the flashlight, along with other various effects like bloom and increased texture resolutions. And if you really want to be blown away by graphics on Quest 3 and 3S, Red Matter 2 is the golden child on the Quest storefront for exactly that. I never got around to it, and currently in my playthrough, coming up close to a year later since release, this game, although a puzzle game and very limited in actual gameplay, is a graphical masterpiece on standalone with great optimization. With the upgraded chipset, strides have certainly been made, such as lighting and bloom additions to games, adding so much more depth to them, including that this game runs natively on standalone without any application space or reprojection. Red Matter to this day is by far the best looking game available on Quest. Other games like NFL Pro Era 2025 frame timings are buttery smooth, view distance is much better in games like Onward. I also been playing Supernatural, which is subscription based and a fitness app that includes expert coaches to help motivate you and licensed music. It's like Thrill the Fight but with aspects of Beat Saber. It doesn't really do anything better than those games for fitness, but the coaches are really great. And if you're trying to get more active, burn some calories, lose some weight, I think this headset, for me at least, has helped a ton as well. The value you get for a budget-oriented headset at $299 is insane. Quest 3S is targeting people looking to upgrade from Quest 2 at a budget, or first-timers in VR. I would even go to say it's by far the best device in terms of value available in the market today. Not just talking about VR, but other consoles at this price point. From the design of the headset, it feels much more cohesive than Quest 3. Meta, in terms of software updates, has really been nailing it, and they are really committing to VR, adding so many new features like Meta AI, external mic support, content adaptive brightness, and spatial audio. Meta is willing into existence to become the next computing platform along with Google and Apple rather than just a gaming console. Don't get me wrong, Quest's strongest suit is still gaming, but the device at this point is basically a mini computer on your face, as you're allowed to open up to 6 simultaneous to the windows on the MetaQuest browser with tabs or entertainment apps like Prime Video. You can multitask or divulge into brain rot. Plus, with a recent update, now you can play background audio with the Quest browser and or with siloed apps like Apple Music while inside of immersive apps or placing a YouTube tab above you. This headset is a jack of all trades. Some of that bad is with moving so fast, things are prone to break, and the software accumulates bugs over time. Meta listens to feedback from the community, as in update V69, they removed the do not disturb setting on indefinitely, muting on notifications. Skipping V70 to V71, they added the feature back to have it on without a fixed time limit. There's growing pain. This headset still, for me at least, doesn't replace the functionality of a laptop because the thing is still bulky, but it comes close to its functionality, and better yet, as a media viewing device for movies, listening to music, or watching YouTube live streams. But because it targets $299, it isn't without its compromises, including that Quest 3 doesn't include a 3.5mm headphone jack, but the USB-C port does support audio, so you can use adapters to plug in your headphones, or go with USB wireless microphone solutions or USB-C headphones, and use various adapters to charge your headset at the same time. Of course, Bluetooth is an option, but expect some type of latency. Bluetooth is totally usable in single-player games, but completely unusable in games like Beat Saber. At MetaConnect 2024, in the developer keynote, A.R. Schleicher, Meta's head of developer relations engineer, explained that sometime next year, Quest will be upgrading from Android 12.1 to Android 14, bringing Bluetooth latency improvements. So we should see by then. The proximity sensor is removed as well, that's included in Quest 2 and Quest 3 in the top middle of the lenses. lenses that's used to wake the headset from sleep when you put it on. They mention using other ways to detect if your headset is on your head, and you'll press the power button more often than not to wake the headset, and reliably it does turn off when not in use. I'm guessing it uses a combination of IMU sensors and data to work. However, the largest compromise with Quest 3S at $299 is the display, as it's using the same Fresnel lenses that is a resolution of 1832 by 1920 with a pixel per degree of 20, but with an increased default eye buffer resolution for games, going from 1440 by 1584 on Quest 2 to 1680 by 1720, same as Quest 3, meaning games by default are rendered at a higher resolution, looking much crisper. Looking inside Quest 3S, the display still suffers the same issues associated with Fresnel lenses. From the smaller sweet spot, meaning the center of the lenses where the image's focus requires you to adjust your headset a bit more. God rays lens glare is persistent, meaning rays of light coming from bright objects. High contrast scenes like dark scenes with white text is really bad. Edge clarity of the Fresnel lenses compared to Pancake lenses isn't quite as sharp for reading text. Some chromatic aberration, glowy look, and it becomes more apparent if you are near the 3 IPD adjustments at 58, 63, or 68. And with wearing the headset requiring you to move your head a bit and get a more comfortable fit and adjustment for a clearer image. Compared to Quest 3, it's like Vaseline oil, baby oil smeared across your screen. You're probably like, that's an odd description, which it is, but Quest 3 Pancake lenses compared to the Fresnel lenses on Quest 3S, it's an obvious downgrade as a Quest 3 owner. If you tried Quest 2, expect the same. Compared to Quest 3, as mentioned by the sweet baby Ray's grilling master himself, that has been dripped out recently, is meant more towards gaming and fitness, whereas Quest 3 is for productivity, media viewing, and gaming. Quest 3 is a better headset long term. It is an extra $200 that I think is worth saving up for, but if you're on a budget, Quest 3S levels the field for accessibility and developers to create more ambitious experiences. To me at least, the performance gains of this generation have been significant, but the clarity of Quest 3 to me is equally or even more important to the experience as the performance gains on the GPU and the CPU. And the best thing with Quest is that it's standalone and it also works with PCVR wireless or wired. With playing into the Radius 2 wire-free, it's amazing. With Meta's approach to an open storefront and sideloading, you can customize and add apps that aren't available on the storefront by sideloading APKs in developer mode. You can do this with Apple Music or Spotify. Also, leading up to release, I've been getting a lot of questions regarding the tracking, as tracking with Quest 3 out of the box was atrocious. After a few updates, it's improved, along with toggling your tracking frequency, 60 Hz if you're in North America or 50 Hz for the rest of the world, and turning off hand tracking. Lots of issues have been addressed, but there is a reason why tracking rings remain on the controller for the longest time. It might be a first generation issue, but it's still an issue. Using Quest 3S, so far this is purely anecdotal. In my experience, it's much more consistent tracking wise than my Quest 3, which for my Quest 3 is my second unit, as my previous one was stuck in a boot loop. Quest 3S tracking for me being better was unexpected. I know Quest 3 and Quest 3S use the exact same controllers and tracking cameras, both with hand tracking off and at 60 Hz tracking frequency. I can't prove it per se, but playing games, it feels significantly better tracking wise. Even apps like Les Mills Body Combat and Supernatural feel better. It's still identical to Quest 3 in suffering in certain blind spot situations like above the head, eye level, arm extended across or below. As in fitness apps like Les Mills Body Combat, boxing is a bit awkward when you miss a punch when you know you obviously hit it. For the longest time, I've been a proponent that the removal of the tracking rings in certain situations like fast-paced games with repeated motions has resulted in worse tracking in games like Beat Saber. In 99% of all games on the Quest Store, you'll never notice, but revisiting Beat Saber on Quest 3, it legitimately brings Vietnam flashbacks. It went from my most played game of all time that I played religiously, now I barely touch the game at all. With Quest 3S, this makes me believe it's a hardware issue. And the worst part is you really can't tell at all. At this point, it might honestly be a skill issue, as I don't use my Quest 3 that much for fitness anymore like I did for Quest 2, but it isn't just me. Plenty of people to this day reach out with similar issues with new inputs. It requires me time to learn, get comfortable, and get a feel for it. With Quest 3, it always feels a bit off in certain scenarios. I spent hundreds of hours early on Quest 3. Quest 3S sparks a bit of hope that the tracking isn't a lost cause for players in a similar position like me. And in the future, I do want to create a video that does test this out, but I want to do it the right way. Moving on with the last bit, I wanted to touch on privacy. I see a fair bit of misconception misconceptions with the increased interest with XR devices, but specifically Meta Quest. Granted, Meta isn't exactly a darling when we discuss data privacy, ethics, or transparency. A healthy amount of skepticism is always good, as Meta's bread and butter is advertising. They damn well know everything about their users. It's what makes them so damn profitable. With Quest, it's still quite early to say this isn't that like Facebook, Instagram, but so far it's been promising. Meta has been transparent from what it collects in its supplemental Meta Platforms technology privacy policy. I'll link to it down in the description if you want to read up on it, detailing hand, body, eye tracking, camera and audio information, physical characteristics and movements, etc. Most of the processing is either stored on the headset and deleted, but in between is the term of abstracted data, shifting some of that data to Meta servers, and it's a bit ambiguous what they do with it. Some of the data is needed to keep improving the headset and adding new features, but who truly knows? For instance, in 2021, Facebook, now Meta with Resolution Games, tried testing VR-based ads in a paid video game, but then they ended up removing it because of the backlash. Then they remarked that the idea isn't off the table in the future and free-to-play is another beast. But in my opinion, look how predatory the mobile gaming market turned out to be, even though most games are free to play. Researchers in 2022 published Overseeing, Auditing Network Traffic and Privacy Policies in Oculus VR, in which they develop various methods to analyze data flows collected as well as decrypt network traffic of VR apps and pinning what information the headsets collected from a series of the 140 most popular Oculus apps. Super interesting read, and I'll link to it down in the description, but most data collected was primarily for tracking and analytics rather than its advertising services. In 2024, researchers managed to crack Meta Quest headsets in developer mode, allowing them to steal sensitive information and manipulate social interactions. The catch, however, is that the hacker needed to be connected to the VR headset user's same Wi-Fi network for this to work. I touch on these subjects not to fearmonger, but to give perspective. Meta isn't selling the headsets like Quest 3S, Quest 2, Quest 3 at a low price point out of the goodness of their heart. It's a capitalistic world. It's worth considering these devices will need to turn a profit one day, and that timeline is around 2030 and onwards from Zuck's leaked emails. Meta with Reality Labs, which is the rodent development research division for XR and AR, they had their missteps and responded reasonably. I'm of the belief that they can't go in a similar route to their other businesses, as it would decimate people's trust to rely on them as a hardware vendor, as with Facebook renaming themselves to Meta. I'm a huge fan of Meta Quest, but not necessarily the company up top. I created this channel solely by talking about Meta Quest, the things I love the most, I usually become the most critical of so they can improve. First, I was extremely hesitant with Facebook purchasing Oculus, but with minimal glazing, XR, VR, MR, whatever you want to call it, would not be what it is today without, of course, Zuckerberg at the helm, for better or worse depending on who you ask. Remember, Meta can alter the privacy policies at any time, and you agree by updating your headset to the newest version. All that to say, in a nutshell, is picking up a Meta Quest 3S worth it? It all depends. If you're strictly into gaming fitness, Quest 3S at $299 is an extremely good pickup. The 256GB version for $399, not so much, at least in the US. And remember, with getting full experiences in VR now, games are about to get so much bigger in storage size. If you can save up an extra $200, the Pancake lenses on Quest 3 make a world of a difference. Keep in mind to set at least $100 aside for accessories, battery packs, and head straps to improve your comfort for prolonged gaming sessions. For myself, I really recommend this head strap from Globular Cluster. It makes such a huge difference. And if you want to go more budget oriented and try to get Quest 3, you can buy a refurbished headset from Meta at just $379 in the States. Although from support, you won't get Batman Arkham Shadow bundled for free, as it has to be a new headset in order to activate and redeem it. And to conclude, the headset's design language borrows a lot from Apple, and personally, aesthetically, I think it comes together a lot better than Quest 3's pill-shaped cameras at the front of the headset. With either Quest 3S or Quest 3, you shouldn't get FOMO, as Quest 4 is reported to launch in 2026-2027. It's rumored to be the first time we see Pancake lenses in a sub headset below $500, but no concrete details yet apart from the codenames of Pismo Low and Pismo High. VR is steadily picking up pace, not as fast as the AI race, and this year, at least for Quest standalone, is shaping to become the best year in VR today, topping with AAA scale releases and new experiences by pushing the needle on what's possible today with XR. You have games like Behemoth and Metro Awakening, Just Dance. Love discussing VR on the channel. To end the video, like always, that's my review so far of Meta Quest 3S. Working on a Quest 3 review in the meantime as we approach 1 year since the device was released, and I'll create separate videos for the other accessories that Meta sent me. And thanks again for Meta for sending me a review unit in advance for me to review. Down in the comment section, let me know what your thoughts are. Did I miss something? Happy to answer them, and I'll include affiliate links in the description. So if you plan on getting a headset, you get $30 worth in Quest Store cash. And I'll also include games and other stuff that I included in this video down below. Leave a like or dislike down below, subscribe for more, and until the next video, see ya.